In his 16 years and some months, he had lived a life that was more than someone in their 30s or even 50s. He had done a lot. His single day was more than a week for others. Finishing up organizing his thoughts, Naruto decided that he needed to help the heroes give up or embrace the path completely. He needed to do it because they would interfere with his actions. For the villains, he would continue doing what he had always done. Give them a second chance and kill them when they acted stupid. Though, there was an issue. What would he do about the strong villains or the super smart villains like Lex Luthor? That was a problem. Once he gave the warning, he would lose the element surprise, and these villains would cancel his seals somehow. Should he just kill them and avoid the problem altogether? No, that would be hypocritical of him. He will decide according to the situation and utilize the heroes when he needed to execute those villains. Other than gathering power, he had decided to gather public support for his new identity and change the world. Since he was here, he would continue doing his job and gather support before taking over. He was the emperor, so this world would be another part of his territory. He couldn't ignore the world after seeing it suffer. He would have left it untouched if it was in a better shape, but it needed someone like him. That was the sad truth. Once he had decided on his path and gathered enough information, Naruto relaxed as he leaned into the sofa. His quick actions and adaptation came from his training. He wasn't someone emotional, and he never let emotions make the wrong decisions. With his mind relaxed, it went towards his situation. He wasn't really happy about being in a new world like this. He didn't like the fact that he was leaving the world to a madman. He didn't know what kind of damage Madara might have done or will be doing later. He had confidence in his team, friends, and everyone, but this was a powerful villain. He would be heartbroken if they were dead after all his work. He was really worried about their well-being. Thinking about them, he envisioned their next steps to see what could have happened. He played around with the illusions that only he could see in his mind, and used the data available to make a powerful case to give him confidence in their well-being and survival. Madara needed the Kyuubi. Naruto could kill the Kyuubi for a time or transfer him to someone in this world. He would need to keep the people alive to trap Naruto. It would have to be done in a very convincing manner since Naruto wouldn't give up if he actually killed even one of them. With that in his mind, Naruto was sure that the enemy would not kill them but capture them if any conflict took place. Che, did you hit your head on a rock? Why are you so dumb? Do you actually believe that the pathetic human knew dimensional travel? I am disappointed in you, human. Just as he got his bearing, Naruto heard the voice of his demon. The voice was powerful and rough, and there was always an underlying threat in the words. Naruto entered the Soul Realm. It was a beautiful valley, and the beast was imprisoned behind bars inside a large cave that was connected to the mountain. The shape of the Soul Realm showed a lot of the person's personality. Kyuubi was sleeping on the ground behind the bars. It was the demon fox with 9 tails. It was big as a mountain, standing 300 meter tall plus the 300 meter from the tails. It was beast that could shatter mountains with its tail. It could cause earthquakes with its steps. It could create tsunamis with its roar. It was the nightmare of the ninja world. During the fight with Hashirama, it had erased kingdoms of the map. During the Konoha rampage, it had erased 2 cities and left huge holes in the land of fire. The effect was felt around the world. The whole continent had been shaken from the huge impact, causing massive earthquakes and storms. People had died in millions on that night, and it had become a nightmare. The destruction and fear was the reason that none of the other villages dared to make a move, even though Konoha was at its weakest. Naruto looked at him without any fear. He had talked to the monster since birth. It had tried to trick him and brainwash him when he was young, 3 years old. Fortunately, he had a family and other loved ones that taught him not to listen to the big bad fox. Over time, they had many arguments, and there was a begrudging respect from the fox, but he still hated everyone. He wanted freedom, and then he will talk about it. Why not? I can teleport, so why can't Nagato have something that can take us to a new world? Are you telling me that we are in an illusion? Naruto asked as he didn't understand. Your pathetic teleportation can't be compared to what took place. Your mind has been touched for you not to realize such an obvious thing. Why would the little bug have connection to this world? There are multiple universes, how did he find this one? Snap out of the trance, the world summoned you. That thing that attracted you seemed to have called you to this world. Check with the other bug. You won't find anything. Kurama spoke to him with disdain. He was a smart creature that had lived for 1,000 of years. He was the son of the Sage of 6 Paths in a way. He was an immortal creature made of energy from the world. He had been given the duty to be one of the guardians of the world alongside the other siblings. But humanity betrayed them, and it started with family. The guardians became outcasts and hermits living away from humanity. That was until Madara came knocking, and things spiraled downhill from there. For 100 years they had been imprisoned, and it still continued. Treated like mindless monsters, they had been chained and used. Never treated like equals, not even beings with some sentient. They called them monsters and all that, never seeing that the hate had a reason to exist. They had just wanted to be left alone. But the human beings wanted their power. The greed couldn't allow peace. Kurama had wanted to control Naruto from the start since he was an orphan and a little baby. Unfortunately, he had other people to keep him away. Kurama watched him grow, and the boy had impressed him. The bugs in Konoha had such a strange idea and they went with it. He could see it working as Naruto was naturally charismatic and attracted people. It reminded him of Asura and Indra. Naruto was a combination of both of them, and he had both of their good qualities. With his power growing, he also felt that there was a connection between them, but Kurama denied it. He didn't want to consider anything until his freedom was assured. But now he was in a pickle. This new world was worse than the old one. Going out would mean getting killed. The heroes and villains would destroy him. He wasn't human in any way and he looked like a monster. They would kill him before he said anything. Now he couldn't even leave. Naruto stopped to think about it and it made sense. He had been bamboozled. Something had brought him here. It didn't change the fact that he was here and he would have still chosen it. But it created a problem. Conan didn't know how this worked. There were many universes. He would need that person if he wanted to go back. "Do you know anything about this?" Naruto asked as he looked at him with a friendly look. He didn't really blame Kurama for the night since he had been controlled and was enraged. He would change the giant fox, but that needed some time. The power difference was still there. With his friendly attitude, Naruto was trying to make him get a good feeling about humankind. History only had bad examples for the tailed beasts, so he needed to make this better. It had worked and the fox had talked to him about life and other things. He knew about his history and what he hated. There had never been a mention about other universes. Naruto didn't even know how big the universe was. His mind was only focused on the planet, never beyond it. Only in this world had he seen more than the planet and started thinking about it. "No, try calling that thing this time. I really don't want to stay in this world, so make it quick. We are not leaving anytime soon. Did you forget about Madara? Don't say his name again, monkey. I will crush you." Kurama growled as his eyes showed his rage and hatred for the figure. "He will capture you and use you again. I can't protect you." "Huh, protect me. I don't need anyone's protection, least from a whelp like you." Kurama snorted at those words as he controlled his rage. Naruto was right about Madara. Kurama couldn't resist his eyes because the man was the reincarnation of Indra. That bloody Uchiha had gained exceptional eyes that he couldn't deny. The eyes were connected to the Jubi. The Jubi had a Rinne Sharingan. With the awakening of the eternal Mangekyo and being the Indra of the new generation, Madara had treated him like a toy. Now that Abomination must have gone higher, might have gained the Rinne Sharingan itself. Then how about we work together for a change? We have been stranded in a new world. We need each other. Think about it, we can do so much more together. You hate the current world of humanity and I intend to change it for the better. Is the world I envision beautiful or not? Naruto didn't take offense to his words. Kurama was superior to him and words didn't hurt. He wasn't that weak. "How about you open the gate first and then we can talk?" Kurama replied in a challenging tone. He knew Naruto couldn't do it. Naruto stopped as he looked at him. This was a dilemma. He didn't have the power to control the fox. He didn't know if he could trust him with anything. "Sorry, that is too much at this moment. I have no reason to trust you. You won't even give me your name." "Haha, you are such a coward. I thought we were friends." "We can be friends, but you refuse to act on that." "I don't mind the name calling, but that really makes you look small. Come back when you grow a backbone. I think we are done here. You are only delaying the inevitable. You will serve me, you know that. Say that when you actually have the power." "I will, and thanks for the heads up," Naruto said as he turned around and left. Kurama watched him leave and hit the bars with annoyance. He liked Naruto after the long time they had spent together, but he just didn't know how to accept it. He knew that Naruto wanted him to repay the debt of his destruction. He had been conscious and in control when he killed the Uzumaki couple and one of the cities. It was rage and hate, but he had done it. He didn't regret it or feel guilty about it. But talking with Naruto for so long, he had felt that human beings were all different. He didn't think all of mankind was evil anymore. He was reminded of his duty. He was reminded of his father. So, he did feel some regret over his life decisions. "He will have to beat me before we ever move on. This cage is a reminder of my hatred. I can't connect with anyone if it exists." Kurama thought as he decided to wait for Naruto, wait for him to get ready for a fight with him. In the end, he just couldn't accept working with someone weaker than him while staying behind a cage. He was not going to act like a pet. He wanted equal treatment, and that meant freedom. If Naruto dared to go against that, Kurama didn't mind getting both of them killed. Finishing up with his prisoner, Naruto stood up from the sofa as he paced around the room. The degenerate owner of the place was a retard and had a lot of knowledge. He actually had a reading hobby that was positive. He also had a writing hobby, which was extremely disgusting as he wrote about his abominable acts. He hid those things in a safe and data on criminal activities, etc. Naruto promptly got rid of those things, since he intended to use the new identity to build up his control in the public without being associated to his real form. Building a new identity wasn't an easy job, especially in this world, so Naruto had no intention of doing it since he would get caught if he stood out. He was going to stand out, so that wouldn't exactly work. Moving away from the safe, Naruto went to the private study that was filled with books on countless topics. From psychology to politics, Naruto casually flipped through them while thinking about other topics. He had to think about the new team makeup and their training. He had to think about how to work on things in the new world. He had to also think of how he was going to balance things out with work and leisure since too much work would get him on the edge. He also needed to guide Conan and change her like the rest of the criminal scum. Part of his mind also felt the loneliness, as it was the first time he was going to be without any close friend. He didn't let that part overwhelm him, but he let the experience build up as it showed that he really cared for those people that flashed by his thoughts. Part of his thoughts went to the League of Shadows. From the memories, it was a huge organization with high-tech and even magic. It could be a good replacement for Konoha. The problem was that none of the criminals knew where the League resided. The League always came and left like shadows. But there was one clue. Artemis from the Young Justice group had some connection to the League of Shadows and Batman. Young Justice was a group of young adults doing smaller missions instead of the adults from the Justice League. It was a team directly under the Justice League, unlike the Titans. It was a group called Teen Titans, but now they had grown up, so it was just Titans. It was a group made by Nightwing, formerly Robin. That group didn't have an adult watching over them, while Young Justice had Red Tornado or any of the League members with them. Unlike Batman, Artemis was manageable. He probably couldn't read their memories, but he was very convincing and knew how to make people talk, or he could wait for them to come to him. The League liked to recruit people of talent. I will wait for a while since there is no hurry, Naruto decided, since he didn't want to leave a bad image for no reason. Knock knock. Naruto turned to the door of the study, and he found one of the maids asking for permission. The degenerate couple had good taste in people. The women were beautiful, and the guards or butler were also good-looking along with being fit. The couple had fun with all of them and had broken them if they were mentally strong using drugs. Case in point, the head maid called Roberta was a victim of such a thing. She was brought in as a guard, but her looks and cold personality tickled their fancy. She used to be a mercenary for hire, but now was a loyal slave. It was a sad life, and Naruto felt bad for the woman. She had no one in her life, and then she got mind broken. Roberta was pale-skinned young woman with waist-length dark hair that was tied in low pigtail braids with square bangs hanging over her eyebrows, blue eyes, sharp canine teeth, and large, thick and overly round glasses. She was wearing a long maid uniform. "Master, you have guests from the lower floor," Roberta informed him in a respectful tone filled with affection. It was the result of molding her into this image. Her normal self was always calm and cold, with some gentle points. She never cared for the couple, and it was just a job. Seeing her, he was reminded of the details and decided to fix the problem with the maids and the other workers. He was going to shift all their memories and make the place normal. It would be uncomfortable if one of the maids started sucking him off while he was lost in thought. They also didn't dress appropriately most of the time. It would be worst for Conan, as she might kill the poor bastard that touched her body. Naruto didn't mind doing such things, but he would do it with people that willingly did it out of attraction for him. Just because he was a sex addict didn't mean he was degenerate that thought with his dick and made such blunders. "Thank you, Roberta. You can go rest now," Naruto said as he walked towards her and his hand touched her head. Roberta didn't mind and thought he wanted to get frisky. Naruto's voice made her mind slow and sleepy while her memories were fixed. Naruto removed all the problematic things and added some things to replace those memories. She had been working at the house for 2 years, so he had to replace a lot and it had to be done carefully. It took him 5 minutes to finish and Roberta was knocked out from the process. Even after his chakra protected her body, it still took a toll on the body. Naruto caught her and put her on the carpet in the study. It was a comfortable sleeping spot, and no one would get suspicious about it. With that done, Naruto decided to go and meet his guest. He planned to finish with the rest of the employees later. In the living room, Naruto found the guest, and it was a woman as expected. It was one of the wives from below, and she had come to his place with her youngest daughter. Chloe Kine was the name of the woman with short black hair and violet eyes. She was a beautiful woman that was fit even at the age of 40 after 3 kids. She wore a normal-looking white dress and looked like a proper woman. She was a nymphomaniac of the highest degree, and none of the kids were from her husband. She had been a hoe from the start, but the poor man had no idea. She was not corrupted by the degenerate couple. She actually joined them in their more normal orgies. She also asked for permission before she did that at her apartment. Her poor husband worked far from home and was mostly away at all times. The woman was very good at playing with the man, so he never caught on, and the children also took after the denigrate woman. They were all whores that spread their legs for everyone and broke relationships and corrupted people. From friends to colleagues, these women had caused them all to fall into the dark pit of sexual immorality. Honestly, this woman was as disgusting as the couple in a way. Naruto didn't mind prostitutes and people sleeping around. He hated people in a relationship sleeping around. He hated people corrupting others onto the wrong path. Person, family, society, neighborhood, city, country, and the world, it went like that. From one part to another, the whole world got on the right or wrong path. "I missed you a lot, Daddy." The young daughter of 16 jumped towards Naruto and hugged him affectionately while giving him a kiss on the lips. The girl's name was Candace, and she was dangerous just like the rest of them. She took after the mother, with black hair and violet eyes. Candace had short twin tails and wore white dress with red shoes. Getting a taste of her lips, Naruto understood one thing that had been bugging him about these women. They had too much sexual desire for a normal person. They had sex day and night, especially the mother. Chloe was getting action the whole day, and she took out 20 men in a day at least. She also did it unprotected but didn't get pregnant or get diseases. She was able to convince so many macho men to actually share. All these things were too much, and with the kiss, Naruto understood that they weren't human. Candace's kiss and saliva was addictive. It increased pleasure and the sex drive. Naruto had just planned to give commands and get the husband free from their grasp while helping him find a good wife. But now he saw that they were more than he had expected. He could sense their energy levels in close proximity, a different kind of energy, and it wasn't much. Taking into account the details on hand, he could tell that they were weaklings, and that was why they went after normal human beings. Naruto held the young girl's back and kissed back with intensity. Just like usual, she was also knocked out. Chloe was surprised by what took place but didn't detect Naruto's power. She was aware of everything that George was involved in. Did he get something from his contacts? Chloe wasn't alarmed, she was excited. "Oh George, that is a wonderful surprise, can I have a taste?" Chloe exclaimed in an excited tone as she walked towards him. Naruto put Candace on the sofa and caught Chloe into his embrace, and gave her a kiss that erased everything else. He marked her completely, the same way he did for Candace. He didn't want them messing around with other people and destroying lives, and he could use them for his team as they had seduction and illusion abilities. He could gain access to the underworld through them. He got rudimentary knowledge from others, but through them he got something significant. He could use them to infiltrate the underworld and take parts of the territory slowly before taking all of it. He could use them to satisfy his carnal urges since not many women could handle it, and he couldn't sleep around freely as he could get caught. It was part of stress relief. Chloe was over the moon from that simple kiss, as she was bombarded with pleasure beyond anything she had experienced in her 100 years of existence. She was a low-level succubus under her queen Lilith, one of the rulers of the underworld. Lilith was one of the strongest beings in existence that had appeared long time ago, and she had worked with other powerful demonic beings to corrupt and destroy humanity. Succubae were one of the ways that Lilith drove humanity towards a wrong end. They were creatures of lust and desire, something that Lilith excelled in. To them it wasn't a matter of evil and whatnot, this was just their nature. They made people free. They made people indulge in everything they desired without taking into account the morality and whatnot. As an example, George was a degenerate, but he would never sleep with his daughter. But he had been sleeping with his daughter knowingly because he had been further corrupted by his desires. In the building he had impregnated many women, and it gave him pleasure knowing that some poor sob was raising them without knowing it. Among those kids, he had been engaged with 3 of them sexually. Candace was his daughter and both of them knew it. Just like Chloe, her daughters had no sense of morals because it wasn't part of their nature. They did what they liked and they didn't care what others thought of it. All the kids were using their powers unconsciously as Chloe hadn't really told them about their real origins. She had come to the human world 50 years ago as part of a group, but all her colleagues had been hunted down by demon hunters and those involved in demonic fields. Chloe decided to lay low and just survive. She was just a small pawn in a big game, so nobody would care where she actually went. She came across her husband by coincidence and actually liked him. He had been a real hunk, but over time he started to stay longer for work and such. It was because of his insecurity. Chloe's sexual desire was too much for him to handle, and it was too hard to resist her temptation. It was unfortunate, but they were never compatible. From there things went downhill and Chloe started indulging her real desires, and even found more pleasure from the feeling of cheating. Life had been on her side as the place they lived was owned by someone that she could agree with, enjoyed sleeping with. George and Stella were human, but they had taken some drugs for enhancement and longer life. It was the reason why they could enjoy such a hedonistic lifestyle. She had slept around a lot, but it was the first time she'd experienced such a thing. Her mind went blank, and she knew she couldn't feel anything significant from others anymore. The pleasure from a kiss was more than any other hedonistic activity she had indulged throughout her long life. She didn't know how he did it, but it didn't matter. She just wanted more of it. She hoped he could actually satisfy her alone or she would go crazy. The sentiment was similar to Candace. The young girl of 16 had fallen into sexual immorality at the age of 13. She had slept with her tutor. From then on she had slept with all kinds of people, from teachers to parents of her friends. Just like her mother, she had directly caused multiple families to collapse and destroyed the lives of her friends. Candace didn't feel anything wrong with that, and that was because of her upbringing. She had been brought up in a house where multiple men would visit every day, and she would hear the howls of pleasure from her mother, and then the sisters. All around her there was immorality. She had resisted it because of the people at school being normal, but her blood made her fall once she hit the age of 13. She liked sleeping with George the most because of the feeling of taboo and his higher stamina and skills, but she still slept with others, though it was low unlike the others. Now she couldn't think of doing it with others. Everyone else felt tasteless in comparison after the kiss, and going further would be much better. Naruto wasn't in the mood for sex, so he didn't have time for them. He decided to let them starve and gave them nightmares for the things they had caused. They weren't supposed to have morals, so he was going to give them the lessons and they would develop those morals. Control and knowledge separated human beings from animals. Naruto put them on the sofa to sleep while meeting the rest of the employees and changing their memories. He also got knowledge from their memories to build a better picture of the world around him. Unlike the ninja world, there were more countries in the current world. Just like the ninja world, most of them were weak. The only countries he had to worry about were USA, China, and Russia. But the heroes and villains were spread out, so he had to be careful in America as a whole and Europe. From the image that he formed from the data collected, he was free to take over Africa, Antarctica, and Australia. Middle East was in conflict here and there, but Black Adam lived in Egypt. He used to be an enemy of Shazam and the Justice League, but he had settled down with his wife. The marriage had taken place under the blessing of Shazam, and now Black Adam was a friend of the heroes. Going to that area meant getting into conflict with Black Adam, and the guy was strong enough to treat him like a child. There was also the fact that Justice League, Stormwatch, and other organizations had global surveillance through space stations. Any explosive confrontation would be located easily and become a big mess when those organizations decide to intervene. Every region had its territory, even the ones that Naruto thought he could take over, but those organizations weren't strong enough to resist him. He could take them down without attracting attention, but that was just an estimate made from secondary information from people that were involved in those regions. Naruto had just arrived in the new world, so he wasn't about to act on haste and get killed or imprisoned. There was no need to act so quickly. He needed to make sure that no one could track him down. Done changing the memories of the employees, Naruto gave some of them delayed illusions. These were people that were scum and deserved to die. Naruto gave them the command to go home, and once they arrive home, the illusion would activate. It would show them his real armored form, who would give them the scare of a lifetime. Their bodies and spirits would be broken, and they would never even think about doing wrong. Naruto was very experienced at breaking people, as he had gotten memories from people involved in that department, and he had done it personally many times. As for the delayed illusion technique, it was a high-level genjutsu that he had learned from Itachi. Itachi could do it casually, while Naruto needed more focus because of Kurama and his large chakra reserves. Normally, he wouldn't be able to use genjutsu at all, but he could do it. This was possible because Naruto had gotten the blood from Uchiha and Hyuga clan. He didn't develop a Byakugan or Sharingan, but his eyes did change. His eye color was blue, but when he was using his powers at full capacity, they would turn red, or when he was using chakra for delicate things. His eyes gave him increased chakra control. It was necessary because Kurama was massive. His father had split Kurama into two and sealed half of him inside Naruto. Kurama grew back to full size over the years, and this also increased Naruto's chakra capacity, though it also meant that more than half of Naruto's chakra was incapacitated to support the seal. The constant fight between their chakra made his control terrible, and increasing control was the hardest thing he had to do. To solve the problem, Naruto would have to open the seal and Kurama had to become one with him. That was a problem as Kurama wanted to fight. For that, Naruto needed time and power, especially since Kurama had become Super Kurama. Super Kurama was the combination of yin and yang Kurama. Naruto was supposed to become the strongest being in the world. He was supposed to be invincible. The other Jinchuriki were a threat to that goal. Every vessel was at least close to Kage level, even when they weren't using the Bijou power. Once they used the Bijou power, they surpassed Kage level casually. It was the reason all nations were very careful about handling them and ending up not training these people too much. Even Gaara as a child using the power of the One Tail was stronger than the Kazekage. The man only won because the child didn't have enough experience. The Akatsuki also won against them by working as a team and taking them by surprise in places where they wouldn't be able to fight properly. Gaara was taken out in his city, where he could never use his full power. The Two Tails was taken out close to a city, inside the sewers. The fight at full power would have killed the people, so she was on the defensive. It went the same for all of them, and at full power they were the game changers. If Killer Bee had actually listened to his brother and made active movements, they would have taken out Konoha long ago. To avoid resistance by the others coming together, this was a necessary step. Kurama's other half had also grown back to full size inside the Shinigami, and he was sealed inside Naruto with a lot of difficulty. It had also freed Minato's full soul from eternal conflict against the fox. Once the two halves came in contact, they directly merged into one and become huge. Kurama's power doubled, and he was now more powerful than ever. This increased Naruto's chakra capacity even more. Naruto now had half of original Kurama's chakra capacity, and 1/4 of the current Kurama. Such increase in power required additional assistance or control would be impossible. With all that work done, Naruto took a short nap as he couldn't get into contact with the earth for a conversation. Naruto woke up after a few hours and got the cooks to prepare a grand meal while he took a bath. With his muscular frame that was perfectly sculpted through intense training, Naruto felt extremely refreshed. He did feel the emptiness at certain moments, like when he woke up alone on a bed, or when he entered the bath. Usually he would have someone on his side for fun or companionship. The goal in life felt a little bit harder with no one trustworthy by his side. Naruto entertained the idea of making clones to act like his friends, but decided not to act so depressed and shook his head at the thought. Just then, someone unexpected turned up. It was a naked Conan. She was beautiful as ever, and her body was perfect in every way. It was lean, muscled, and didn't destroy her looks. She had no scar or anything on her smooth skin. "I wasn't expecting your presence," Naruto said as his eyes went from her feet to her face. Mixed baths and nakedness was nothing to shinobi. They were trained from the beginning to have no such shame. Naruto wouldn't even bat an eye if he was fighting a naked woman while being naked. Though it did work against most beginners, and it seemed to work in the current world as well. Conan didn't act any different as she cleaned up and sat down in the large bath. I wanted to show that we can trust each other. And did you do something to the employees? Conan replied calmly. She had slept for 3 hours and somehow it hadn't been painful like usual. It seems that Naruto had given her assistance, so her sleep was a good one. From the beginning to the end, he had done more than she had expected. It seemed that Konoha had actually done something right for a change. They had created a proper leader instead of a monster. Though she wanted more proof of his skills before she would pass him the eyes. I did, or they would have been entering the path to indulge in an orgy. The couple was very perverted, so I had to change their memories and helped most of them become normal again. As for trust, I am happy that you are willing to take a step forward. It would have been quite problematic otherwise. Naruto smiled as he looked her in the eyes. She looked better after the rest. He could understand her loss and sympathized with her problems. It was the cruel world that forced them on the path, and in a way it was connected to his teacher directly. Danzo was directly responsible for their suffering, so he had another reason to help her out. Trust is a two-way street. I need to at least show that I am willing to change. I don't know what you think about me, but I do regret what we have done. I can make excuses for our actions and mindset, but it doesn't matter. Conan brushed her hair as she said her piece. She wasn't dependent on Naruto, but he had shown her the error of their way. Even if Naruto left her, she was willing to make up for her mistakes until her spirit can hold her up. She wasn't strong enough to go on walking for a long time. Conan felt the desire to let it go. She was tired of the cruel world that contained nothing of hers. She walked a path. No, she crawled on a path to make the world a better place so that people wouldn't suffer like them. She had urges to end everything, but her guilt and regrets kept her walking. I understand why you fell. Sadly, most of it is connected to Danzo. Relax. Naruto saw that she reacted to his name in a negative manner. She didn't show it, but it was clear to his senses. I won't make excuses for him, just like I won't take your excuses. He changed over time or he wouldn't be alive now. I am fair and just with everyone. I would have killed him if he hadn't changed. Only time will tell, if you are the one or not. Conan didn't like to argue, so she dropped it. It was an unpleasant topic. Naruto smirked at those words as he had full confidence in his capabilities. He didn't continue on the topic and informed her of his actions. He gave her data on the world and even transferred the English, Spanish, German, and Russian language to Conan. He got the languages from the maids and the other employees. Conan was impressed by his actions as he didn't react like a child lost in the wild and acted professionally as he had said. Once the bath was done, the duo ate at a normal pace and had a normal conversation about morality and ways to change the world. Conan had lost her way, and she could think of death and destruction as the solution. Fear was her only answer. Naruto could agree to it partly, but their methods differed. Naruto could bring out fear without killing, while Conan met fear from massacres and such. She also didn't have much knowledge on making the life of the citizens better. They were so lost in their path that the group had barely thought on the topic of improvement of society. It was the reason that Village of Rain was one of the most depressing places on the planet. While the talk took place, Naruto's clone left the city to create bases for the team. Naruto flew out of Gotham invisible to all senses by entering Sage mode, becoming one with nature that people wouldn't be able to separate him from the wind. Naruto had taken a look on the net before making his move. In USA there were many places that were devoid of human life. Deserts and ghost towns, etc. Naruto flew toward these ghost towns in all the different states and made underground bases in these places, and even in the deserts. Naruto utilized his elemental control to make the bases, and all was done with aesthetic in mind. It had many rooms where people had everything they needed. There was the meeting room, training room, storage room, lab, game room, bath, and all kinds of facilities. Naruto carved seals on them to hide it from others. People that came close to it would avoid it. He made it extremely durable, and left Hiration seals on it so he could teleport between them. Naruto kept to the edges of these states, and kept away from populated areas to avoid any attention. He made so many bases to avoid getting tracked and making escape easy. Naruto also used nature energy for the seals and worked to avoid getting tracked. He wasn't arrogant enough to believe that no one would ever find these bases. Once Naruto was finished with main base in the Mojave Desert, he sat down on his throne and looked at his axe. The axe and armor along with the chain were the best weapons in his world. He had always been proud of them, but now he didn't have the confidence in them. These items were made from fragments of items used by the Sage of Six Paths, making them extremely durable and precious. Even now, Naruto couldn't scratch them. The Sage was powerful enough to split the world and remake it. He could destroy the moon and make another one. These were myths for many, but Naruto knew them as truth since Kurama had talked about it. Kurama was aware of the battle against the Jubi and such. Being connected to that, Naruto's items were too much for anyone, but now too many enemies could break them. He never thought about going above these items, but now he had the target of improving them to a level beyond anyone had dreamed. For this target, he needed to find Hephaestus. The only people that could help him would be Wonder Woman, Wonder Girl, Troya, and Cheetah. For this target, he needed more power before he could ask for such a big favor. For now, he would have to slowly level up his gear utilizing better material and technology, and even add some magic to it. Don't feel insulted, partner. I am going to make you better, not replace you. Naruto smiled as he talked to his sentient equipment. EA, Enkidu and Alpha had intelligence. They could operate without his command and could help him when he was knocked out. They had their own energy cores, and by combining with Naruto in a proper manner, the combined power was a huge boost. Naruto could win against Kurama using the items, but he couldn't use them against Kurama. None of the sage weapons worked against the tailed beasts unless the beast showed no sign of intelligence. Kurama also wouldn't accept him if he used assistance in their fight. Nonetheless, his partners were satisfied with his answer and hummed with joy to see some hope of a new frontier. Just like their master, the equipment also loved the idea of improvement. Finished with those thoughts, Naruto decided to test the world. Naruto made a weak clone and gave it true transformation of a hawk. The clone flew around the world while being one with nature. Naruto observed everything and looked out for any outside influence. The clone flew around for more than 2 hours around the world and didn't get caught. It was enough to Naruto to understand that nobody was actually watching the world for unknown intruders in an efficient manner because there were too many opposing parties. It could also mean that those who did notice him didn't care about him. All in all, it was a good thing for him. With the Earth experiment done, Naruto made another clone and used true transformation to make him into Batman. He got traces of Batman's DNA from the villains through pieces of his cloak or even hair. The clone flew into space toward the moon. Naruto didn't need to breathe until he had chakra in his system, so his clone could easily survive space. Chakra could replace anything that a human needed, food to the air. Chakra had no limits except the skill and imagination. History of chakra users was very short, and most of it was conflict that led to a loss. The new generation was still only trying to get back to the level of the ancestors. Only Naruto had the goal to surpass the level of the old man. It was his pride as he couldn't allow himself to be second best. He carried the expectations and dreams of many on his shoulders, so he didn't allow himself the luxury of pessimism and mediocrity. Getting back to the issue on hand, Naruto flew into space without any resistance. Using his senses, he found the invisible space stations of the different forces. There was the Watchtower of the Justice League and Skywatch of the Stormwatch, along with other less sophisticated bases of the nations. There were also satellites belonging to LexCorp and other large corporations that were definitely involved in evil activities. All these stations were hiding using tech and didn't utilize any magic for protection. Naruto's senses had increased after the experience with the planet, and his senses utilized nature itself. Space was also nature, so anything that was within it would not be hidden from his sight. Even Naruto had no idea how to hide from such powerful sensor abilities, but he expected that powerful magicians could do it. It was surprising that they didn't do it. It felt like they were inviting enemies into their base. Inside the Watchtower, he could sense powerful beings, but only one was actually stronger than him. Hawkgirl, Aquaman, and Green Lantern were present on the Watchtower. Naruto saved their energy signatures and decided to check their identities when they were on Earth. He couldn't see through things, so he couldn't tell who was who. It was the same for the others, and he saved them carefully. He knew that conflict with all of them was unavoidable, especially Stormwatch and JL. Leaving the troublesome future foes, Naruto flew towards the moon. It was the first time he had actually left the planet and seen things from above. It was a mind-boggling experience. The sight was majestic. It was one of his best moments in life. Naruto admired the view while taking account of the moon and checking if there were people in it. In his world, there were people on the moon. They had found evidence from relics, ruins, and even witnessed some of them. None of the ninja tried to make contact to avoid trouble since the moon people were connected to the brother of the sage. There was already conflict on the planet. They didn't want to invite outside forces to get involved. Just as Naruto expected, there was base inside the moon. It was at the center of the moon, big as the Forest of Death. It was around 20 kilometers in circumference. There was a huge palace in the middle of it that looked ancient, and it was surrounded by a forest. There was a giant lake and lots of giant statues. There was artificial sun at the center of this base that gave it light, and Naruto could sense energy from the palace and the statues. It wasn't a normal place, and there was someone inside of it. Now Naruto had two choices. He could go back or go in. Naruto gave it another look and didn't find any strong threat inside. Plus, this wasn't his real body. Without further ado, Naruto slipped through the surface using Earth-style underground projection fish technique. It was a jutsu that allowed the user to slip into the ground and move like a fish in water. It was high-level skill that utilized some aspects of space manipulation, in the same way that substitution jutsu utilized it. It was a skill that average chunin could utilize, but depending on the mastery, things changed. According to Conan, Madara could slip through anything. It showed that he had mastered space manipulation to a very high level. Naruto was also aiming for such a goal after he had learnt the projection technique. The trip to the center was short as Naruto utilized half his speed without the armor's support, 5 times the speed of lightning. Without any noise, Naruto flew above the hidden base. It was a wonderful place, and the building structure matched old Roman style. That was all Naruto had on hand, and he couldn't connect it to anyone. His senses told him that a person was inside the palace. Naruto flew inside the palace and no defense system activated from his presence because it couldn't be separated from nature. Taking in the setting, Naruto could see mystical symbols, materials, and designs. The palace was magical in nature, it was special. But he couldn't test it out at the moment, and he flew to his target. Entering a giant hall, Naruto found a woman passed out in the center. The young woman was of great beauty with long and silky pink hair. She wore a silver crown on her head with a red ruby in the center and diamonds on the side. She wore a silver cape along with silver light armor that covered her torso. She wore a short silver armored skirt and silver knee-high boots. She also wore silver gauntlets on both arms. Her body looked delicate, but Naruto could see that it was used to close combat. On her side lay a sword with a crescent moon on the hilt, and Naruto could see the same design on her forehead. Naruto could feel energy from the girl, and she wasn't close to a normal human. The palace seemed to be connected to her and was protecting her. The moon seemed to be connected to her, and the gravity around her was messed up. Even with all the information, Naruto couldn't connect her to anyone. He had even checked websites dedicated to collecting information on heroes and villains. The data was public, so it wasn't 100% true, but it gave a good foundation. Naruto flew around the woman. She was unconscious and not reacting to anything. It wasn't hard to see that she hadn't planned on falling asleep like that. Naruto controlled the wind and created tiny clones that flew towards the target. The defense system reacted to it and blocked it using moonlight. It didn't attack since his presence was still untraceable by the defense system, showing its limitations. Instead of attacks, Naruto decided to use the elements directly to wake her up. Waving his hand, Naruto caused water to appear around the girl and it fell on her like rain. With cold water dropping on her skin, the girl moved and woke up suddenly as she brandished her blade while looking around. The gravity around her increased to 50 times that of Earth and small light shields moved around her body. Naruto decided to watch before acting. The young woman was Laura Klein, known as the Lunar Maiden. She was a superhero known on Earth and daughter of High Klein. Hugh Klein was an American astronaut on Apollo XXV, the last manned moon mission. While on the moon, Hugh discovered an ancient structure, thereafter referred to as the Lunar Villa. Inside, Hugh found an infant girl in a cradle, and is then confronted by a ghostly consortium identified as the 100. Caelius, speaker for the 100, explained how they were a group of scholars and philosophers devoted to peace who fled Rome during the time of the emperors. Using alchemical processes, they created the Lunar Villa and attempted to create a champion of their peaceful ideas on Earth. Unfortunately, they accidentally created the villain known as the Centurion instead. To atone for this mistake, and to perpetuate their beliefs, they created a child they called the Praemonstrous Supra, meaning, she who will point the way. Hugh returned to Earth with the infant child, and he and his new wife, Jenny, were allowed to adopt and raise the infant, whom they named Laura. Although Laura exhibited no outward superpowers, she was always a brilliant and athletic child. When Laura turned 16, her powers of gravity control manifested. Hugh and Jenny explained Laura's origins to her, and she and Hugh traveled to the Lunar Villa, where the ghostly remains of the 100 explained her origin and their purpose to them. At this point, Laura embarked on her career as Serenity, the Moon Maiden. She soon made many friends among the superhero community, was an early member of the Justice League, and shared at least one adventure with the Teen Titans. Throughout this time, her most frequent opponent was the Centurion. During one of the Centurion's most grandiose schemes, he used a device called an erasure weapon, which was capable of erasing a being from history. After erasing several notable heroes from existence, Moon Maiden, along with the remaining members of the Justice League, the Teen Titans, and Infinity Inc., took the battle to the Centurion, in what was known as the Century War. In an act of self-sacrifice, Moon Maiden took herself and the Centurion high into the sky, and there destroyed his weapon, causing a great explosion and removing the two of them from history. Laura had thought that was it, but somehow she reappeared in the world. She was extremely happy to be alive and checked things out, and realized that there was no trace of her in the world. She had never existed and no one remembered her. She was heartbroken when her parents didn't recognize. She didn't want to destroy their happy life with their new children and teleported to the Lunar Villa. She didn't have much energy left to stand. Her mental and emotional strain was too much. Her body felt like lead, and Laura didn't resist as she fell to the floor in an unsightly manner. Her mind was a mess, and even though the moonlight was healing her to full capacity, she had no desire to wake up. The real world was a nightmare, and now she was all alone. She wanted to drown in her misery and get back her bearing before trying something. The villa gave her good dreams, and suddenly she was hit by water. There was no such system in the villa, so she quickly got up. She activated her powers and utilized the villa to look for an enemy, but she found nothing. Laura was only 18 years old now, though she would have been 23 if she hadn't been erased for a time. She had been a normal girl for most of her time, tomboyish. Only in the last 2 years did she learn combat and experience dangerous situations. She was a brave and kind girl naturally, never having dark thoughts. Even before learning her origins, Laura had felt the desire to help others and guided them when possible. She didn't let down her guard even though she found nothing. The water was still there, it wasn't a dream. "Who is it? I know you are here," Laura called out as she relaxed her nerves and stood her ground while lowering her blade. My name is Serenity the Moon Maiden, and I am the protector of Earth. Guest of mine, please, show yourself. I know you mean no harm, Laura called out in a gentle tone even though inside she was feeling depressed. There was some hope that it was someone that remembered. Naruto observed silently and read Laura through her body language, emotions, and energy movement. She wasn't lying to him. Naruto decided to show himself and appeared in his true armored form, though his energy signal was still like Batman. He wasn't going to leave behind such a powerful clue. His appearance with the armor wasn't a secret and it would spread soon. Greetings, Miss Serenity. My name is Alpha and I am the Emperor of Mankind. I was traveling the world when I came across this lunar villa and made a short visit. I hope you don't mind the intrusion. Naruto appeared in all his overwhelming glory, towering over the young woman that stood at 1.7 meters. His voice was calm and friendly. It was a tone reserved for friendly people that he could respect. Laura looked at the giant man encased in the menacing armor that appeared just few feet from her location and couldn't find his identity in her memories. He was someone new, and he also didn't know her. He gave a majestic aura, but his voice and body language showed that he was kind. Laura's eyes shone like the stars and she unraveled his morality. One of her powers was that she could tell if a person was good or not. Her lunar eyes told her that he wasn't a bad person and he had no bad intentions. This was an ability that was the core of her role as the one to guide humanity towards a better future. I don't mind your intrusion and thank you for your kind intentions. Would you like to join me for a drink? Laura was lonely at the moment and she could see that the man wasn't bad, so she decided to talk to him. She was ignorant of what had taken place in the last 5 years while she was gone. She also didn't know what to do at the moment. There was also the fact that her enemy would also be back if she was back. I don't mind. Miss Serenity looks very glum and I don't like such emotions on good people. Please allow me to help. Naruto walked closer and took her hand. Naruto adjusted his size, and he became 2 meters tall as the large size was intimidating the young woman. He wasn't lying. Naruto disliked negative emotions, so he wouldn't want it on others except his enemies. From his words, Laura could tell that he could sense emotions. His mannerisms told her that he came from a noble background. He wasn't acting it. He was trained and brought up in it. She had such knowledge from her teachers in the lunar villa and meeting with leaders. Thank you for the offer, but please allow me to decline. I understand. Naruto didn't force it and let go of her hand. He enjoyed the feel of her powers and got a close touch to make it easier to replicate. Space, gravity, time, and soul were categories that hadn't been explored much in the ninja world. Naruto could utilize weight manipulation to lower or decrease the weight of things. He could also utilize seals for that goal. He could teleport and make portals. He could turn into a ghost and leave his body. He could summon the Shinigami or utilize the scythe of the Shinigami. But all these skills were specific, and he couldn't modify them at his skill level. He couldn't control time or utilize space freely. He also had zero control over gravity. He had never really thought about it since he was always busy with too many things that he never ran out of things to learn. Understanding what gravity could do, Naruto was very much interested in replicating it and adding it to his skill set. He was knowledgeable, but the ninja world didn't have much knowledge of gravity. The gravity of the stars and black holes was very interesting. Naruto was curious how strong Serenity could make it. Thank you. Laura smiled as she guided him to the garden area where she liked to relax. She excused herself for a few moments to freshen up while commanding golems to attend to Naruto. These were the alchemical creations of the 100. Sadly, they were all dead and gone. Now the place was a lonely place. Having a guest, Laura took short shower and came back still in her combat attire. She knew he wasn't bad, but safety was her first priority, especially after almost dying. Thank you for your patience. Laura sat down as she observed Naruto drink tea without taking off his armor. She didn't know how to do it, so it was quite interesting. She would have been worried about her secret identity, but her existence had been erased so it didn't matter anymore. Usually she wore a helmet to cover her face, for protection and identity. No problem, I was busy admiring the scenery. It is a beautiful place, Naruto replied gently as he placed the teacup on the table. It was a feat of control since the cup was delicate. He had been watching the garden and the palace intently while she had been gone. It was a nice sight and a magical sight, so he had reasons to store it in his memories. Naruto liked artistic and beautiful things. He had been taught many things outside of combat and leadership. He had particular taste in things. He had the mannerism to go with his position, etc. Laura smiled at his words as she was happy for her teachers, and she also liked this place. It is the best creation of the 100. A group of scholars and philosophers from the Roman Empire devoted to peace in ancient times. They are my teachers that trained me to help the world. Laura talked about the group as she wanted to spread their name again and give them recognition. She was proud of them, and it would be sad if the world forgot about them after everything they had done. Naruto could understand her feelings since he also had many teachers, and he would be happy to talk about them with others. Though, that would be with close friends. They sound wonderful and I wish I could have met them, as I am very much interested in learning. Though I am curious. Why have I not heard about you? Naruto asked as he went to his main question. He knew her teachers were dead from her attitude, emotions, and lack of life in the base. With his words, Laura did feel happy, and then it went down. His question brought her negative thoughts to the front. The answer to that question is delicate, so I am unable to share it with you. I can share it, if you can win my trust. Laura replied as she picked her teacup and took a sip. She put it down and brushed her hair aside. She couldn't tell him about it casually since there were many delicate things involved. There was a powerful weapon that was part of the story, so she couldn't share it with just anyone. Naruto could make many conclusions from her words. The topic at hand had many secrets behind it. She wasn't lying, and she didn't seem to have stealth abilities. Someone erased memories of her existence from the world, was Naruto's conclusion. Naruto could do it with normal people, but doing it for everyone was something grand. Naruto connected the memory removal to Laura's depression, and understood that it was serious. He didn't who did it and how, but he was interested. What do you have in mind? What is your goal? Laura asked as she activated her ability and stared at him. That is quite simple. I want to help humanity achieve peace and harmony under my rule. I could have cut that out, but that would be a lie. It is the reason why I am the emperor of mankind. You have seen how the world is under different forces. It is a mess. I intend to get the love of the people and guide those people to a better life. I have experience in leadership and the related knowledge. Is this good enough? Naruto answered to the point. His goal wasn't a secret, as it was literally in his name. The secret would be how he was going to do it. Laura actually hadn't expected that answer. She thought the name was just a name, or he was actually from another universe or solar system. He was serious about his words and confident. She didn't know how to judge him on it. Her role was also to guide humanity to the peace and harmony, so they had similar goals in a way. What do you think of the average man? I treat everyone in a fair and just manner. Relation and power doesn't matter. I don't look down on them as they have their role and I have mine. Many of close friends are just normal individuals. Naruto replied as he thought of Iruka and the Ichirakus. What do you think of the Justice League? I like them. I like selfless people. I feel sympathy for them and consider them mental patients. They have saved the world many times, but they could easily do better. It is their madness of letting villains go and expecting things to change that makes me conclude that they are mentally unsound. Oh, are they your friends? Naruto smiled as ate some biscuits. Laura reacted badly at that answer. They were friends and people she looked up to, but she couldn't refute him. Even she had issues with their policies after seeing villains come out alive while innocents died. It felt like they were putting more importance to the life of villains than the innocent civilians. Can you do better? Do you understand why they can't do it? Of course I can do better. Anyone can do better than them, and even the police force has more effect on the world down there than the JL. The police and army are allowed to go for the kill against such villains while the heroes instead go for submission. I hope you realize that even normal civilians are allowed to fight back in those situations. The heroes are mostly afraid of backlash and afraid of falling too deep into this hole. Once you kill someone, it becomes easier, and maybe you won't even consider another option. That is their fear, I assume, and it is valid. It is valid, but not worth the lives that had been lost. I like them, but sadly they are lost sheep. They put their ideals above the lives of the innocents. Unlike me, they could easily change the world if they wanted to. Isn't it sad that power was given to such beings incapable of intelligent thought? It's really not hard to correct the world or the criminals. They have so many powers, but none of them use them properly for reformation. The heroes are doing it in a half-assed manner. If they are not going to kill, then they should at least cover up the rest of the way. Instead, they leave them in a prison where they get out next week. Is this good enough, Serenity? Just so you know, I have killed with these hands and I don't mind doing it again. I give people a second chance and give them a guide to change. If they don't, they die. If they do, they live happily ever after. That is my way, as I don't put the life of a criminal and innocent on the same scale. They are not equal. Do you think they are equal? Is the life of a criminal equal to the life of your loved one? Naruto replied and pushed Laura. One of his goals was to change the heroes. Sometimes just words were enough to push them on the right path, as they might not have considered such questions. Just like he wished, his words hit Laura like a wrecking ball. Her teachers also taught her that killing criminals was the right path, but she had lived a peaceful life, so that was difficult. She then worked with other heroes and got into the group mentality. Hearing his words, she was reminded of Centurion. The man had killed many people and was a dark spot to her teachers. He had almost killed her friends and family. In her last moments, she had wanted to kill him. She remembered her regret, fear, and rage in her last fight against him. Life of a criminal wasn't equal to an innocent, especially not a loved one. I understand your point of view and thank you for sharing it patiently. But your path is also very dangerous. Power corrupts. Are you sure that you won't fall? I am sure. I have people by my side that will question my words and keep me on the right track. I am not someone that likes hearing endless praise. I like hearing questions. And you like asking questions. Naruto gave a small chuckle. Laura smiled at his words and tone. Even though the topic was serious, she felt relaxed while talking to him because he was honest and his aura was very peaceful. Apologies, I have been a bad host. Do you feel better now? Naruto shook his hand to imply there was no need. Yes, I feel better. Did you use something? I projected good thoughts and my aura calms the soul. I also released a scent that helps with relaxation. Hope you don't mind such intrusion? Naruto said as he stood up. Thank you everything. Laura also stood up and she wanted to talk to him longer about this topic. It was the first time someone was really talking about the implications and such. Serenity, you seem lonely. Do you want to join me? Naruto extended his offer, trying to help her out and take advantage of the situation. It was a nice place, and she was a powerful girl. Laura looked at Naruto and thought about it. She needed someone to fight against the enemy. She needed someone to return the memories. Sorry, but they are still my friends. I will help you out if you are not causing trouble. Ha ha ha. I thought I had you. Well, I don't mind. I will help you out even if you don't join me. I just want good people to live happily. Just call my name and I will come for you. Naruto chuckled and continued in a friendly manner. He didn't mind rejection. He wasn't going to own everything. It was fine as long as they were okay and were willing to work with him. With those words, Naruto disappeared and left Laura alone with a small figure as a gift. Laura picked up the little emperor and smiled as she felt relaxed holding it. She could feel energy was stored inside of it. Maybe I should have gone with him, Laura thought as she was going to miss the feeling. Shaking her head, Laura teleported out of the base and headed for the watchtower. She was energized and brought out of her stump to focus on the problem. While a part of his psyche was controlling the clone, checking out the areas and making bases, Naruto and Conan made a clone each to look at Gotham properly. Using the real body was better, but it also opened them to the risk of getting captured. Plus, clone body allowed for a different set of skill. Someone with high level of control could turn the body into energy and fight, meaning all attacks could slip through the body without causing much harm. Naruto had been using the clones from the age of 6 so he could fight in such a manner. Regardless, Naruto passed Conan the ability to put her mind into the clone while the real body meditated. It was the first time, so she was unable to divide her mind like Naruto. With the process done, both of them teleported to the tallest building in Gotham where Naruto had left a mark. Looking at the night view, Naruto felt the darkness of the city. It looked beautiful but ominous because of the large amount of negative feelings. The emotions were heightened at this time, giving Naruto the true feeling of Gotham. It was partly because his abilities seemed to have increased after the encounter with the Green Force planet. Truly, the beauty hides the ugly interior, Naruto thought as he admired the view with his companion. Conan was armored to hide her physical identity. Unlike Naruto, she just wanted some light armor. She covered her torso in white armor along with her legs. Her arms were free and she wore a silver helmet. The armor was made from powerful metals, and it was made from Naruto's old armor. It had seals on it to give it enhanced durability and store chakra. It also had anti-detection seals and helped in stealth. Conan was used to fighting without such armor, so it was a bother wearing it. But she couldn't deny that it was needed. What are we going to do? Conan asked as she finished watching the scenery. We are going to introduce ourselves to the world. Is that safe? Aren't you being too hasty? There is no problem. I have checked the area and understood the dynamics a bit. They won't be able to track us down and our presence will usher a change. Naruto replied as he looked at the city filled with crime. He had gotten enough data to locate the criminal masterminds or their henchmen. Penguin was easy and he was even working with Batman now. Two-Face just needed a dose of healing and suffering and he would be done with criminal life. Finally, Black Mask also just needed a dose of suffering and some lessons on morals. Naruto was not one to make too many compromises like Batman. He wasn't going to allow crime to exist just because there was a possibility that something worse could take place. He was going to make all these villains pay their due. He had programmed the trash that was working for George to resign and apply for the police force. Working as bodyguards, they would never be able to repay what they owed. Just like them, he would program most of the criminals to go out and make the world a better place. This would be their choice made from their fear of him, and the guilt his powers would produce in them after the mental torture. He wasn't going to treat them like little kids that made a small mistake. They were adults, and they were lucky that there was a second chance, or he would have flown down and erased every one of them. We won't make a mess. It will be swift and clean. Just follow my lead and learn from it. We are not allowed to create casualties or damage the world when possible. Also, keep in mind to not use your powers when acting as Stella. Naruto finished with those words and took flight. Conan followed behind him with her paper wings. The duo was still invisible and didn't attract any attention while traveling the city. Naruto moved around the city and stopped whenever he spotted suspicious individuals. He checked their memories before acting. This way he learned more and more about the world, especially Gotham City. In just 2 hours, the duo had come across hundreds of criminals and Naruto had given them their first lesson in being decent human beings. His appearance and warning was carved in their minds. They would fear him and never forget his presence. He put them through physical and mental torture, letting them understand what they had been doing to others. He also left them the warning that it was their last chance at life, as death would come to them if they dared to walk the dark path. Naruto also gave them ability to actually work on the positive things and increase their knowledge by giving them ideas. They were all evil scum, so most of them lacked any idea on how to act in goodwill or how to repay their debt. They also visited the police stations and checked their minds. Naruto fixed the corrupt cops and gave all of them a boost in skills and bravery. He also left seals on their guns that would increase the speed and piercing power of their shots. This way, lower-end crime would be taken care of by the law. With all the data collected, Naruto visited Two-Face, also known as Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent was Gotham City's amiable and courteous district attorney, and one of Batman's strongest allies until Sal Boss-Maroni threw acid in his face, hideously scarring him. It also fractured his mental state, causing him to become Two-Face, a schizoid criminal mastermind obsessed with duality in the number 2, and was one of Batman's greatest enemies. His former good luck charm, a two-headed silver dollar with one side defaced, had been seen as a reflection of Dent's half-scarred visage. He flipped it to decide the fates of his victims. Despite Batman's efforts to reform his former ally, Dent was consumed by his fixation on chance. His crimes were designed to prove his diametric philosophy. The man had left everything behind, even his wife, because of his madness. He had been fixed through plastic surgery for 2 years, but after getting caught in an explosion, the madness had come back with vengeance. The man had become one of the top criminal minds in Gotham and was responsible for massive deaths. He was also a large scar on Batman's heart. Naruto found him in a casino, in a private room. The casino was part of his territory, so he used it as a hideout and other operations. Harvey wasn't some expert fighter or superhuman. He wasn't really a villain either, just a madman. He had mental problems that subdued his original persona. Naruto caught him like he was a chicken to slaughter and invaded his psyche without hesitation. He had already known about his problem from others. It didn't take long before Naruto destroyed Harvey's evil persona, leaving only the good side. He filled Harvey with his chakra and healed him completely. Naruto filled him with hope, bravery, and love, reminding him of all the good days and his loved ones. Once that was done, Naruto had a talk with him in his mind. Naruto got all the details about Gotham and Harvey's gang, while giving Harvey the boost to be the best for the people. People needed a good person in the court. Harvey was delivered to his house where his wife was living alone, waiting for him to come back. He hadn't visited it in 3 years since the explosion and his dark side had taken over. With Harvey taken care of, Naruto took care of the rest of his goons and made them work towards helping the city. The casino became one of Naruto's properties among many other money-making businesses owned by criminals. The owners become part of his group, and he would utilize them for different purposes, buying items and such, or even gathering information for him. Some of these criminals were good at finding information, and those were the ones Naruto added to his information group. Finishing up with all of Harvey's goons in Gotham, Naruto visited Penguin. The Penguin was a Gotham City supervillain and an enemy of Batman. He was an eccentric criminal mastermind, known as much for his love of ornithology and trick umbrellas as for his already shady business dealings. Gotham's popular Iceberg Lounge served as Penguin's front for a number of illegal financial statures. The Penguin was a wily foe whose umbrellas concealed a variety of deadly weapons and gadgets. Penguin was a short, chubby man who wore a tuxedo, top hat, monocle, white gloves, and spats. A mobster-type criminal, he fancied himself a gentleman of crime. Unlike most Batman villains, he was sane, and didn't theme his crimes around a psychotic obsession. His intelligence and aristocratic personality starkly contrasted against demented Batman villains, such as the Joker. As a result, his relationship with Batman was often somewhat less tense than it was with other villains. The Penguin recently became a mobster and nightclub owner, who engaged in more quiet criminal activity, whom Batman tolerated as a source of criminal underworld information. Whenever he was apprehended for a crime, he was sent to an ordinary prison instead of Arkham Asylum. The Penguin did, however, possess a few eccentricities. He was known for his love of birds and his high-tech umbrellas that served some specialized function, such as hang gliding and weaponry. He also kept beautiful women around him, perhaps to remind others of his monetary power. Naruto found him surrounded by women in his private room. He got them all to leave with mind control while taking care of their master. The man wasn't as bad as the others. But he didn't regret anything. He had no actual morals and he did everything for his goals. He just never went too far to avoid getting killed by any side. He worked for the villains and the heroes at multiple occasions. Naruto had fun with him and taught him what morals meant, and why he shouldn't partake in scum-like activities. After the torture that lasted 10 minutes in the real world while taking up a whole day in the mental world, Naruto marked Penguin. Penguin became one of his servants to gather information and lead the businesses, hostess bars, strip clubs, and even hotels. Naruto had some of those properties transferred from other useless criminals to Penguin, while also giving him instructions to start making up for his crimes. Naruto could easily have them go to jail and sit down until their term ended or they got executed, but none of that was actually useful. If he could make them work for the betterment of society, then it was the logical choice compared to killing them. The fear he put them through was worse than a death threat. He wasn't the best at torture at the moment, but he was improving with experience. His mere presence would cause them to hyperventilate. His name would cause them to start crying and begging if they felt like they had a bad thought. Finished with Penguin, Naruto took care of his goons and other related criminals before arriving at Black Mask. Roman Sionis, better known by his criminal alias Black Mask, was a longtime enemy of Batman and one of the most prominent figures in Gotham City's organized crime. Once a member of Gotham's social elite and president of makeup giant Janus Cosmetics, Roman's own poor business sense led to a series of decisions that largely destroyed his reputation as both. His company was bought by Wayne Enterprise and he was forced to step down as the CEO. Humiliated, Roman sought revenge on those he perceived to be responsible for his misfortunes, namely, Bruce Wayne and his company. To this end, Roman created the identity of the crime lord named Black Mask, as well as the criminal organization known as the False Face Society. That was just the beginning, and Roman just continued to fall and became a permanent crime lord. He was one of the biggest sources of illegal weapons and drugs in the city. The man had also almost killed one of the Bat family members, spoiler. With so many years in crime, the man had lost all semblance of his past. He was completely in his role and trying to increase his territory. He had been caught multiple times and gotten out. Just recently he had escaped after shooting down 6 people after having been delivered by Batman. He had hired Mr. Freeze and was working with other supervillains to increase his name. He had been planned to brainwash Killer Croc with the help of the Mad Hatter from the Wonderland Gang. The Wonderland Gang had just escaped from prison because of the White Rabbit last night and gotten out Batman's grasp because of the rabbit. Everything seemed to be going well when his hideout, a warehouse filled with his goods, was attacked by an unknown vigilante. Freeze fought against him while being supported by the rest of the goons, and Roman watched the show. But then, to make things worse, Catwoman also broke into the battlefield with Spoiler. It became a 3-way fight as the heroes also tried to stop the other guy from killing the criminals. That was the scene of Naruto's arrival. Naruto gave Konan the signal, and she acted. She descended on the battlefield with a storm of paper that covered up everyone and restrained them. Naruto followed along, putting up a great show as they landed on the ground. Naruto walked to Roman and dealt with him first, giving him the treatment and giving him new goals to pursue with his goons from the False Face Society. Finishing up with them, he sent them out of Gotham so they could start working to making the world a better place. Apologies for making you wait. I wanted to finish up with the trash before we could have a proper talk, Naruto said as he turned around. He had already knocked out Freeze and sent him to one of the bases nearby. He walked up to the men wearing a red mask. He was an angry young man, very angry. His anger and hatred was easy to feel from his gaze. Naruto touched his face and smiled before knocking him out and sending him to the base. He hadn't expected to get another subordinate, but it seems the world was on his side. I know about you people and I admire your selflessness. Catwoman and Spoiler, I will not inquire into your real names and I will not harm you. I am just like you people, as I am helping the world in my way. You are wondering what that means and what happened to the people here, isn't it? Naruto moved around them as he kept his tone friendly. His voice was his real voice and not a fake. Catwoman was a costumed adventurer who had been both a superhero and supervillain. Beginning her career as a thief and enemy to Batman, she later turned to crime fighting and became part of the Batman family. Despite her villainous nature, she worked hard to protect the East End of Gotham City. On the other hand, Spoiler was a young female crime fighter that got the name by giving information about criminal plans to others. She was the girlfriend of Red Robin, the current Robin. Both of them were alarmed by the new additions to their lives and worried what was about to happen. They were completely immobilized and only their eyes were left open. The people are safe. I didn't kill them. I give them some punishment and gave them a warning before sending them out of the city. Now they will do their best to repay their debts and make up for their crimes. I could have left without your knowledge, but I want you to know about me so that we don't have misunderstandings. I know all about you heroes and I find you admirable in some case, but I find you worthless in some cases. What is the point of fighting crime if things remain the same? You don't need to kill them, as you can just give them a big warning to avoid the problem. You have all the powers at your hand, but it seems you don't have the mental capacity for such simple solutions. This isn't for you two, because you have to play by their rules. This is for your friends above and Batman. I am the Emperor of Mankind and I represent their will and hope. I intend to change the world. I want to bring peace and harmony to it. That is my simple wish, so you don't need to wonder what I want. Now, I will give you an option. Would you like to join me? Naruto continued and gave this information. This was to introduce himself as a force of good to the heroes. Knowing his goals and methods would help them avoid getting into serious conflict because they thought he was killing everyone. Naruto walked closer to Catwoman and whispered into her ears. That Red Hood was Jason Todd. Tell your lover that his previous protege is back. But sadly he hates all of you. How sad it is that you couldn't even avenge his death. I know you are different and you want to help Batman. I can help you with that. I mean it when I said I like you guys. I want good people to be rewarded and live happy lives. Join me, and I will lead Batman to a better path. I will cure his insanity, Naruto said as he tapped her delicate chin. He could feel her emotions towards the names he took. She was still very much in love with Batman, and he didn't mind helping them out. Batman was a useful ally, but he needed a cure before they got closer. Naruto smiled and flew away from the site, leaving the two women as he sensed fights taking place in two different directions. Catwoman and Spoiler were free from the paper. They were cautious and looked around but found nothing. The duo had disappeared. Spoiler turned to Cat, who was acting slow. Did he saw something? Cat snapped out of it and looked at her young partner. The words Naruto had said were impossible to ignore. It was like he had read her like a book and knew what she wanted. Yes, he said something really important. We will talk about it with Bats. Cat replied calmly. She was used to all kinds of nonsense, so this news wasn't enough to break her calm. She still wasn't sure if it was the truth or a lie. But the Red Hood did seem like he knew the family, except Spoiler. Spoiler was surprised at her words since Catwoman disliked meeting Batman directly these days. She still hadn't forgiven him, and there was a chasm between them these days. It had been 2 years since the previous Robin's death, but the damage hadn't healed. Naruto split into two, and one went with Conan while the other went alone. It seems he was blessed with good fortune as things weren't going awry. Gotham was child's play for him, but everything could hit a block if any of the big heroes or villains appeared. Green Lantern, Flash, Zatanna, Superman, and even the Titans could appear in the city as they had connections to it. Batman could summon the whole league if he felt that it was needed. It was the reason why he was being so careful and not acting in a villainous manner. Naruto genuinely believed that the only reward for good was good. He actually wanted them to be happy, and he felt sympathy for them. The things he had said were from his heart. He wasn't a heartless, manipulative leader. He was definitely manipulative, but he actually cared for them and wanted a good life for them. Regardless, Naruto was happy to meet all the interesting people and was looking forward to gaining more power. Just like he had expected, he couldn't read their memories. It was blocked from him. It also meant that Barbara and Dick were related to them. Taking that stance, Naruto could guess their identities from their general body shape. Dick Grayson, adopted son of Bruce Wayne, was Nightwing. Barbara Gordon was Batgirl, and Bruce Wayne was most likely Batman. It made sense since the man had many accomplishments and was a genius with money to spare. All of them were protected except Jason Todd, who had been with the League of Shadows for 2 years. Reading his memories, Naruto knew all of their identities, and it was not just an educated guess. Leaving that behind, Naruto arrived near the nuclear power plant owned by the Wayne Enterprises that was supplying energy to Gotham City and more. Just inside the walls, two sides were in conflict and it wasn't looking good. Volcana and Firefly were working together to wipe out Gotham City. Both of them had an unhealthy obsession with burning things down and explosions. Plus, all of them hated Wayne for making things difficult for them. Volcana was a beautiful young woman with red hair and orange eyes. She was a meta-human with fire abilities. She was one of Superman's villains from Metropolis but had escaped recently from prison after White Rabbit made a mess. She hated the government for experimenting on her instead of treating her like a person and teaching her to control the alien powers. She also hated the Super family for blocking her way. She wanted to make them feel some pain with this explosion as their friends would disappear. On the other hand, Firefly was a young man in his 20s that wore a gray flying battlesuit that was equipped with flamethrowers, bombs, and a flame sword. He was a pyromaniac that had burned down places for fun and money. He burned down places on order so that the owners could commit fraud and get insurance money. Fighting against these two villains was two of Gotham's expert fighters, Huntress and Black Bat. Black Bat was a shapely young woman wearing a pure black skin-tight costume. She was one of the new Batgirls before taking the identity Black Bat. Barbara was the first Batgirl and still went by that name, though she had taken Oracle as a name for some time. From the looks, Naruto could tell that she was an expert at fighting and could read her foe's movement. Huntress wasn't weak either and showed expert skills with her crossbow. She was also a beautiful woman with long black hair and blue eyes. Unlike Black Bat, her costume was revealing. It was a mix of purple and black. Her face was covered by a mask that blocked facial recognition. Both heroes were doing extremely well against the dangerous foes, dodging the attacks and leading them away from delicate places. Naruto could tell that they didn't need his help. But that didn't matter. Without further hesitation, Naruto flew down while releasing his invisibility. He had to finish his goal before some powerful individual decided to intervene. It was a delicate area, so that was a possibility. Naruto landed in the center and everything around him was in slow motion. He was moving at Mach 1500 at the moment, while everyone around wasn't even Mach 1. Naruto canceled the attacks and put the villains to sleep before reading their memories. Volcana's real name was Claire Selton. As a teenager, Claire Selton showed an aptitude for pyrokinesis, the ability to start and control fire with her mind. Her parents sent her to Metropolis's Center for Paranormal Studies so that she could learn how to control her power, but she was soon spirited away by government agents working for a program called Project Firestorm. They planned to train her as a living weapon. Given the codename Volcana, she was trained and indoctrinated by government agents but rebelled and escaped. Now a fugitive, Volcana survived the only way she could, by stealing. This caught the attention of Superman. He unearthed the government agency and its renegade chief, Kurt, and caused it to shut down. He relocated Volcana to an abandoned island where she could find a chance to reorganize her life and turn over a new leaf. Superman made periodic supply deliveries to the island, and Volcana took the opportunity to flirt with him when he visited her. During one such visit, she commented that he was always polite and that his mother must have raised him well, to which he answered that he'd been lucky in that respect, and she agreed with him, showing bitterness that she had never been that fortunate. She flew from the island once her powers increased and started more trouble in Metropolis, only to run into Supergirl. She proved to be a worthy adversary for Volcana, who was defeated within moments of their encounter. Unlike others, she was lost and actually had no purpose in life. She was flailing blindly and was an easy target for others to manipulate. She had caused the lowest deaths among all the villains Naruto had met, less than 100, and all of them had been collateral. Volcana's flames were hot enough to burn steel, and when concentrated, she could hit 5,000 degrees Celsius. Reading her memories, Naruto found her an easy target. She liked good-looking guys, she wanted to be happy and free. She seemed to like being stylish, so he could get her into modeling or acting. Her power was also very attractive. She could be his fire elemental. Naruto was using the same technique that the Inuzuka clan used for their dogs for all these new servants. This way he could summon them and they were always connected to him. He could continue making them strong and grant them elements. In the ninja world, he had many giant monsters as his summons, as he was making new intelligent summons beside the ones that were used. But all of them were in the other world, and Naruto couldn't summon them anymore, or he might have summoned his other servants for company. Finishing with the memories, Naruto put her through a lesson that all villains needed. It was time for some good old torture. She was bombarded with pain of burning and the emotions of people that experienced arson. Sending her to the base, Naruto moved to the next target. Firefly was a man named Ted Carson. He used to work for fire department, but it awakened his desire to see things burn. Ted Carson was a muscular and good-looking man with blonde hair and blue eyes. He slowly started burning things down and it escalated. He started taking orders from others and made money from his hobby. He had also been the lover of music artist Cindy but ended up getting caught by Batgirl and Nightwing after he had framed Garfield Lins as the Firefly. Garfield Lins worked as a pyrotechnic on film starring Cindy Cook. Eventually she had been forced to fire him and he had not taken it well. When an arsonist named Firefly appeared in Gotham targeting Miss Cook, Lins became a prime suspect. It was discovered though that Lins was actually the first victim of the real arsonist, Ted Carson, who had hoped to pin the blame on Lins for the destruction of Cindy's career so that he and she could fake their own deaths and live away from her fame. With 2 years in jail, Ted had developed a deep hatred for the Bat family, and his desire to burn things was bursting. He had zero guilt for what he did, and enjoyed the sound of burning kids alive. To him, they gave the best sounds. The man was a sick fuck. Seeing his demented mind, Naruto gave him extra hard dose of punishment and decided to keep him that way until the next day. With that taken care of, Naruto sent Ted to the base before turning to the girls. Just like he expected, he couldn't read Black Bat's memories, but Huntress was shocking. He could read her memories as she wasn't direct part of the Bat family and was a vagrant, a nomad. She moved from place to place, but always had a deep love for Gotham. She was Batman and Catwoman's daughter from another universe. Helena Wayne was her real name, and she had been stranded in the current universe for 3 years. Helena fought alongside her father as Robin. During her father's final moments, she defended him from the Batplane by firing upon attacking parademons. She witnessed his death when the tower he was inside exploded. She and her best friend Supergirl entered a boom tube in pursuit of someone they thought was Darkseid, and ended up in another universe. Stranded on Prime Earth, Helena and Kara were forced to adapt to living on a world both similar and different to what they knew. Using her knowledge of the workings of Wayne Enterprises, Helena stole money from the company to help establish a life for the two and blend in. During their early days, the two searched for leads on how to return to their Earth. After months of no results, Helena gave up on the search and shifted her focus to fighting crime on Prime Earth. Because Kara disagreed with giving up on going home, the two decided to take their own individual approaches to life on another world. Kara went on to create an R&D company and live as billionaire Karen Starr in the hopes that a means of traveling to other Earths could be created. On the other hand, Helena remained in the shadows, never staying in one place for long and using fake identities so that no one would be aware of her existence. Eventually, she used money periodically stole from her father's company to gather the resources needed to fight crime as a vigilante. Using the name Huntress, Helena spent years establishing herself as the terror of international crime organizations. The information he got from Helena was horrifying and mind-blowing. He would have let her go, but she was too valuable. He needed to talk to her and carefully digest what he had just learnt. His worldview had just been shattered by what he had seen. He knew powerful enemies existed, but this was the first time he knew that they could actually travel to other universes and destroy or enslave worlds. His world could also become like hers. His goal of power just became bigger by an unknown amount. The shock was felt, but Naruto kept his calm as there was no point in getting worried about it. He was already doing his best. Naruto returned to normal time and both women found their bodies restrained by the earth as they were seated on concrete chairs. Their eyes landed on Naruto and saw that the other two had disappeared. "Greetings, ladies. I hope you don't mind the rough treatment. I just wish to avoid a pointless conflict." Naruto greeted them in a friendly tone as he stood in front of them. "Who are you?" Helena asked as she was looking for a way to get out while intending to get vital information from the unknown entity. Cassandra Cain, Black Bat, was also the same as she was trying to think of a way to get out. "I am not your enemy and I have no violent intentions for you. I am the Emperor of Mankind, so you can just call me Emperor or Lord. Just like the rest of the criminal scum, I have given them a second chance at life and rehabilitated them. So, you don't have to worry about their lives as you will see them soon. I just wanted to express my desire to recruit you for your bravery and skills. My path is the best for mankind, while your path has already failed you for decades even though you have all the power at your disposal. You are smart ladies who understand what I mean, so think about it. I hope we can meet again on amiable terms and have a long conversation unlike this moment." Naruto patted Huntress on the cheek and disappeared. He had felt the urge to take her with him, but that would have been hasty and dangerous. There wasn't a need to get Huntress by force at this moment, and from her methods, she would come to him sooner or later. Taking her by force would put him against Power Girl, Supergirl from another universe. The woman was weaker than Superman, but she would one-shot him and make him a bloodstain on the ground if they ever fought. While Naruto disappeared, Huntress and Black Bat were free from the restraints. They didn't give too much thought to Naruto's words, but they also didn't let go of the words. The words drilled into their minds and brought forth the regrets and desires. Naruto's speech was always laced with his chakra that tried to connect with others and show them what he wanted. His words made them think about the problems of the current system, but they also had nothing from Naruto to understand his path. To them he might be another lunatic, a powerful lunatic. Unlike Black Bat, his words did attract Huntress more. It piqued her interest, especially that gesture. Why did he act so close with her? Was he hitting on her, or was there an actual reason? Huntress left Black Bat as she wasn't part of the team and didn't want her father to get involved. She understood that the gesture was calculated to keep her thinking about it. While the other Naruto was handling the power plant, Conan and Naruto arrived at an old amusement park on the end of the city.